up to a new morning. Pop in a little nostalgia. Just be kind and listen to the rewind.
Welcome to the Rewind Podcast, the show that explores TV and film through a queer millennial lens.
Which means we watch a shitload of television and then record ourselves nerding out about it.
It's true. It's true. Well, everyone, I'm Keenan.
And I'm Jonah. And in this episode, we're exploring the 2018 Archieverse series, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Rise! Rise!
Okay, so true story. Do you know this entire time I've been calling it The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch? And I'm like, it's such a long...
Get out, really? This whole time?
The whole time. The whole time.
The whole time you would... The whole time!
I mean, when I started Googling and it just stopped at Sabrina, I was like, oh, really? Damn. The whole time I've been... All these extra words I've been giving them.
That's too funny. That's too funny. I just call it Sabrina. I'm just lazy, I guess.
Going forward, everyone, there are spoilers, so be prepared. If you haven't watched the show, you know what to do. Go watch it, then come back and listen to it. Or, you know, listen to us and then go watch it and be like, y'all are ridiculous. But before we get into the show, it's time for our viral clip of the week.
So, Keeks, have you ever been fishing?
Actually, yes, I have been fishing several times, but I have never caught a fish.
Well, so have I. And I may have caught fish before, but that's not even what I remember and enjoyed about the experience. I enjoy just the pleasantness and the serenity of being on the water, not in the water, but on the water, just chilling, right? And I think most people like fishing for that reason. However, while most trips to the lake are a relatively peaceful experience, this clip from the TikTok account Unilad depicts a different type of experience for a few young lake goers.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, let's check.
I hope they're not at Lake Lanier.
Keenan, the way, first of all, I knew you would enjoy that one because you always enjoy a video. One, you enjoy a fall video, and there is a fall in that one, but you also enjoy a video where children are being terrorized.
It's hilarious. Mother Nature said, get out.
You know what's funny to me? There was so much happening. You already clocked that like at least one or two of the kids are already stressed. Like they're at like peak anxiety level. The little girl is just like, she's like crying already before the fish even attacks them. And for those of you who are just audio listeners, the video is 3 children in life vests on a boat, obviously with their parents, I'm guessing. And they're not happy to be there seemingly, and all of a sudden this giant ass fish comes out of the water, smacks all of them across the face with its fins multiple times,
and let me tell you, fish scales are sharp. Those kids could have gotten cut. That's not funny, but I mean that's a consequence.
Yeah, especially if it was a catfish. Oh, a catfish, I was like, them throats cut.
My aunt stepped on it, like it went through her foot. I came out real country. Yeah. Oh, really quickly, this is a quick like thing about Lake Lanier. You just like go look it up. So Lake Lanier is a man-made lake that was built over a historically black town of Oscarville. It's in Georgia, I think like outside of Atlanta.
I've heard of this. It's so weird. And
so like stuff happens in that lake all the time. It's like haunted. People go like missing in that lake. Like I think there's a horror movie that came out called Lake Lanier. That was like a quick snippet from like a Time article, but it's worth looking up. I wanted to like make sure I didn't F up the retail, but the Google AI kind of whitewashed that history when I just like I had to kind of dig for an article. I was
Oh.
like, Google AI didn't lead with it being a racist tragedy.
Google AI whitewashing. Mm-mm.
Oh, you heard it here, folks. That was hilarious. Thank you for that, Jonah, because I'm sorry, the other ones were duds.
I know. I was like, I gotta find something that I know Keenan's gonna laugh at because the last few have just been flopping for him, and I'm like, if one more flops for him, he's gonna want to like totally dismiss, like do away with this segment. I know. So we're still working out the kinks of the segment. Okay, I'm still trying to like find my way around
But this is like also
really
like
hit.
a fully visual bit. Like you have to like tune into the YouTube to specifically like catch this part. Because sometimes you can be like, Keenan, that was funny or not. I don't know. I'm weird that way. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is an American supernatural horror television series developed by Roberto Aguirre Sacasa for Netflix, based on the Archie comic book series of the same name. And he was writing, if I read correctly, he was the creator of the graphic novels that the show is based on. So he got to take a show from a graphic novel to television, and then they did some wrap ups in comic book form. So like there's
Okay.
another season in comics.
So like a Robert Kirkman situation with The Walking Dead. That was the same case there too.
Oh, okay, okay. It ran from October of 2018 to 2020. Of course, we know 2020 saw the snatching of a lot of television shows, and I think
The
COVID was
snatching.
specifically cited. It lasted 2 seasons, but the seasons were split into 4 parts. It's also a Greg
Wait,
Berlanti
2 seasons?
Yeah.
This show
It
was
was
only 2 seasons?
because they would run so many episodes as like a part one. Like part one
Right.
had like 10 episodes. I meant to write this down because I was looking at it earlier. And then part two had like there was part one, and then there was a Christmas episode or a Yule episode that ran as like episode 11 of part one. And then part two starts almost like right at the top of the next year.
I
So
thought they
yeah,
just do 4 seasons. Because that
your
would be
guess
too
is as good as
easy.
mine. I
Netflix
don't
is so
know if
weird.
these stories were adapted from his series or if these were original, and maybe that's how the series was broken up. Maybe you can
Mm.
Google that while I keep talking. As I said, this is a Greg Berlanti production, and it stars Kiernan Shipka as Sabrina, Ross Lynch as Harvey, Tati Gabrielle as Prudence, Jazz Sinclair Roz, the beloved Chance Perdomo, RIP, as Cousin Ambrose, Lucy Davis as Aunt Hilda, Miranda Otto as Aunt Zelda, and of course, my queen, Michelle Gomez. Ugh, she's so good in everything. I love her so much. Michelle Gomez is Lilith, aka Madam Satan, or the late Miss Wardwell. She snatched the body of that mortal woman to get her job done. The show had a tomato meter rating of 82% and a popcorn meter rating of 72%. So, well, I guess like critics gave it a B, and the general audience gave it a C plus, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, which is interesting to
No,
me. Like, because Tomato Meter is the critics. So it's interesting that they give, because normally they're not that generous with horror. Well, okay, so I did look up why it was broken into 4 parts, and
okay.
the Google AI says it was divided into 4 parts primarily because Netflix chose to release the series in large batches of episodes, as you said, allowing for a more structured storytelling approach where each part could focus on a distinct narrative arc within the overall story rather than having a traditional season format with a set number of episodes per season. Some key
That makes
points about the
sense.
parts structure: storytelling
Hmm.
convenience. Each part could delve deeper into a specific theme or conflict, providing a more focused narrative experience for viewers. Release strategy is another point. By releasing episodes in parts, Netflix could generate more buzz and excitement around this show over a long period, aka milking the fuck out of it. And then another part is flexibility. This format allowed the creators to adapt the story as needed, potentially incorporating feedback from viewers between parts. Interesting.
That's awesome. I wonder if that also gave the actors some time to like if they wanted to go shoot a movie for, I don't know if any of them got in movies, during this, but like if they had the opportunity to go film somewhere for about 4 weeks and, so they could work.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting. I also want to point out that in the Amazon Prime series Gen V, Jazz Sinclair Roz is the star of that show, and she starred opposite Chance Perdomo.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
That was that actress the whole time?
that's Roz.
The whole time?
When I started watching the show, I was like, why does she look so familiar? Why does she look so familiar? And then I Googled it, and I was like, yeah,
Oh
it's
my
Roz.
God.
Yeah.
I am so ashamed of myself that I did not clock. I knew she looked so familiar. I know I've seen
Well,
this girl
she
before.
clearly like she has matured. She looks. I'm not gonna say she looks older, but like she is 16. I'm not saying she as her actress, like her character in Sabrina is 16, 17 years old.
Right.
So
She also
I think
wears
this character's supposed to
glasses
be.
in that one. She just looks so much different to me.
Yeah, she's just super. Well, I guess she's not that much older in Gen V. Listen, that is what a good costume change will do.
Wow.
Listen, got to pay your wardrobe folks because they'll get your stuff together.
Also, she takes such like command of the scene, the show in Gen V, because she is primarily the lead, or at least one of the leads, and she just wasn't able to do that in Sabrina because Sabrina was more focused on Sabrina, Kiernan Shipka's character. So like she didn't get I feel like her arc was never, she didn't give her a lot to work with, but with this out of the gate she was owning the screen. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think in like part 3 of Sabrina, like the whatever part where she starts fully going blind, and they're like kind of delving into that bit of the like her family history, she gets a little bit more to do later in the show. But again, like she's able to just like live in Gen V, and I adore her. And again, I am mourning the loss of.
I know it's heartbreaking, and it's really one of the reasons why it's hard for me to
So
I don't even want to watch like Sabrina Chilling Adventures anymore. I didn't love this show. Spoiler, didn't love the show. I'm not a big fan of the show, and can get into why. I loved Chance's character. His character was one of my favorites, and I just loved watching him in Gen V, and I was genuinely just heartbroken when I found out about his death last year. So it's just kind of tough to talk about because it feels gloomy to even think about it. But anyway, we can celebrate his memory by,
honor just his talent. He was a fucking amazing actor.
So good, so good. Talk about someone who steals a scene. Every scene that he was in, I mean,
honestly, between him and Michelle Gomez, those are the reasons why I continue watching the show. She's done Doom Patrol, she's done Doctor Who, and like she plays that kind of like dark, twisted character. But like in the Doom Patrol, like she is like dark, twisted, and then she starts to like see the error of her ways, and like we watch her character grow and become a better person and truly become a hero in that show. And I'm just like, I love Michelle Gomez.
Some actors you can just tell just were born to play villains. They're just so good at it.
She's
it's just so
good.
effortless and organic, I think.
There's a moment when they were like holding on to like the last few episodes of the Doom Patrol show, and she started tweeting about it, and she was like, I have a feeling they're just gonna like not even air these shows that we've already filmed. And I was like, Like, yes, you better speak on it, ma'am.
Sassy, I
Speak.
love it. The hour-long drama reimagines the story of Sabrina the Teenage Witch as a dark coming-of-age tale that traffics in horror, the occult, and witchcraft naturally. The new iteration is described as in the vein of Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist, and finds Sabrina wrestling to reconcile her dual nature as a half-witch, half-moral, while fighting the evil forces that threaten her, her family, and the daylight world humans inhabit. All of this and only 16 years old. It was a pretty loaded show in terms of like, I mean, Kieran and Shipka had a lot to carry in this
Yeah.
series.
Yeah. I don't always love witch product projects that portray witches as like full-on devil worshippers.
Hmm.
And that was really my biggest issue with this show. I don't know if it's the if it is part two or if it is in part three where they're like, oh, we have to break away, and then they like start embracing what like the goddess, and I'm like, I don't know, like, and didn't have enough time to get that far into the show, but that, as I said before, it was mostly Michelle Gomez and Chance that kept me
She's
coming
gonna
back.
live for on screen. Yeah. I'm kind of with you there. I thought
Mhm.
it was clever how they did it, but I feel like it created some inconsistencies because they're supposed to be like this celebration of like an embrace of evil, right? As a result of that. But then those characters clearly aren't evil. Like Sabrina's not, her aunts aren't even evil. Like a lot of the witches in the academy are they do good, like it just
Well,
seemed
I
like a
think
big
that's
plot hole.
also no, that's I don't I disagree on that because that's why they refer to like the Christian God as a false God, as they feel like the narrative of Satan was changed to make him that. I feel like they are like, we embrace Satan because he gave us the power to break away from the torture we're going through under man, and that's just that. And so they look at it as like, I don't know how to describe it, but
But
does that make any sense?
evil is a theme in this because like Sabrina is it's worried that she's going to become evil when she accepts the Dark Lord's full like her fate with that. And so I mean clearly it's an aspect of the religion, so to speak, is being evil. It's like being a devout Christian is supposed to be inherently good. I feel like it's the opposite with the way they portray the worship of the Dark Lord is that it's inherently evil, and so embracing it means you're embracing evil, but that doesn't really hold up to the characters'
The actions of how
traits. Yeah,
they.
and they're, you know, so I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
see. I feel like they viewed this Satan character as almost like the Lucifer series kind of Satan, as like not super evil, he just is.
Mm. I Yeah, I have to disagree. I think they were very pointed with the evil thing. Like everything about the imagery with it was meant to be like because there's all this whole like will she won't she like so like I mean the whole show is built on the will she become evil if will she embrace the Dark Lord or will she hang true or maintain her goodness as the because I mean it even says it in our premise here that we read like wrestling to reconcile her dual nature as half witch half mortal while fighting the evil forces so like she's fighting evil but also like fighting the threat of becoming evil and I don't know I just felt like it was intentionally meant to be dark and you know
And maybe I guess it's just levels of what.
I think it got a little murky. There was a lot of gray area with it, for
Yeah,
sure. And that
I don't
made
know.
it interesting, but then also I was kind of like scratching my head over it. So, how does the story in the series compare and differ from Sabrina the Teenage Witch with Melissa Joan Hart?
I think for the most part, they had her in this series. They had Sabrina her entire life, where she came to them at like a certain age, right? I can't remember now. I can't
Yeah, I
remember.
want to say she was either a very young girl or a baby, right? When in the Chilling Adventures.
Yeah, no, they had her from a baby, in Chilling, but it was almost like, oh, I have to go live with my aunts because, oh, well, girl, you got to come live with us, and then, oh, on your 16th birthday, hey, you're a witch, and that's why you have to live with us, and you can't do these things, and because I think on this, like, because her parent, like, her mom, she was still like half mortal in the original show, like she couldn't be with her mom. And her mom, it was ridiculous. Her mom could not see her or she would turn into a ball of wax. I specifically remember
Oh,
that.
right. Okay, because her parents were not dead. It was just that because of
Yeah.
her.
Because her dad comes to visit her in one episode. And I think he was
Oh,
like, ended up dating a mortal woman again or something, somebody. No, no, never mind. That's a whole other storyline. That's a whole other
I thought you
storyline
were going to
with
say it's
her.
a whole other series.
No, no, she had like witch cousins that came over and her
Mhm.
mom ended up giving up their power because she fell in love with a mortal and they had to like give up their powers or something. Like there were a lot of ridiculous random rules in that show. Um
Now I feel like I should have revisited the original show's premise
I surprised that
because
I remember I watched Sabrina religiously, but I don't think I've seen those episodes like you know like let's like say Charmed or Buffy to where I'm just like, oh yeah, da, 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 da. There's just like flashes of things that I remember or
yeah,
storylines that I remember from the show.
yeah, yeah. And I loved I also watched it religiously. That was part of the TGIF lineup, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and I love the story, the behind the scenes story of how Melissa Joan Hart and her mom, like they owned the rights
Hmm.
to the story. And so from the beginning, and it was a movie first. You remember that?
I was gonna ask you if you've seen the movie
Yes,
with
I watched it. It was
Ryan Reynolds.
Oh God, yes. It was so bad. It was so bad in every way. It was so painstaking to watch, but I had to watch it and it was interesting. It was very interesting.
There were some certain bits of mythology from the movie did not translate to the show. I remember being very confused in the original show because, as you know, one aunt is always a little zany and the other one is
Mhm.
very like studious and smart.
Yes.
And on the original show, correct me if I'm wrong, Aunt Hilda was Caroline Ray, the zany one, and Zelda was
Yes.
the other lady who
Yeah.
was
The straight
I'm
edge.
the smart one.
Yes.
It was flipped in the movie. So Hilda was the less zany one, and Zelda was the
Oh.
zany one. And so I'm interested to know how it worked out in the comics. Like if the aunts were
Yeah,
one way or like
and
at
why
what
it
point did it flip?
swapped. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Because it's always fun to have like one sister's like woo, and the other one is
mhm.
have things to do. Was the new iteration worth creating? Does it lend anything to the franchise, take anything away from it?
I think certainly it lend a different tone and perspective and a whole new set of stories that obviously they were not able to explore in the original show on ABC, I think. Um,
Hmm. Well, I
so
mean, that was also like 96. So
yeah.
the chilling, from what I understand anyway, the chilling books didn't even come out until the 2000 teens.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I had a lot of hope for this show. I was really excited at the premise, but it just never hit for me. it I it's hard to explain. I'm not really sure. I don't fully understand why it didn't accept that. I didn't love how Kiernan Shipka played Sabrina. Like it just I don't know if it's because how she was written. Because I think I love Kiernan Shipka. I think she's a wonderful actress. I watch her in literally everything else, and I enjoy everything I see her in outside of Sabrina. But I just didn't like the way that character was written. Like she was way more type A, I think, than I'm like care to see Sabrina. It was just also almost like she had like a mission and she was very like principled for a teenager. It was very unrelatable, like her character in that way, I think.
I I think this is one of those shows when I started to realize that I was getting older and I was totally on board with the adults. Every adult in the room, I'm like,
Yes.
what are you doing? Why are you
Yes.
doing this? And what was the episode I just watched? It was a Christmas one where she decided she was going to
Yeah.
get her friends, so they're going to do this seance to call her mom, and all the things went awry. And when Aunt Zelda's getting on to her the next morning, she's like, why didn't you bring this up to us? We could have dealt with this after this time because stuff can happen. So we had to light the Yule log, and now all these things are happening. And she was like,
Mhm.
you would have done that? Get out. Get out. Get out of my house right now. I
Mhm.
actually could not. Like, Sabrina got on my nerves. She really got on my nerves. I was like,
Yeah.
every adult in the room is like, someone come get this child.
Yeah, and I couldn't honestly, I couldn't really tolerate any of the other kids either. Like I felt like um I felt like Harvey was too whiny.
I like my jock Harvey Kinkle. There's a difference. Like, give me back my little jock from he was
Yeah,
annoying. He
the
got on my
dumb
nerves.
Harvey. Dumb
Yes.
Harvey. He was very likable. I didn't love the characters. I liked Zelda and Hilda. I
Everything at the School of the Dark Arts or the Unseen Arts was more interesting. I'm like, give me more Prudence.
No, yes. I fell with Prudence. I loved her. She was so alluring to me on screen, and that's a phenomenal, beautiful actress. I I just yeah, I'm like, give me more of that. Give me more of oh my God. We were just literally talking about Chance, and I can't remember the name of his character.
Ambrose.
Ambrose, that's it.
Ambrose.
I give me more Ambrose. I wanted more Ambrose. I lived for
Yeah.
everything that character had
Yeah.
going on. Honestly, a spinoff of him would have been I would
Yeah.
have watched that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just wasn't it didn't hit for me, the characters. And so I really kind of I still watched it all out of obligation because I was curious to see what they did, but I checked out of so much of
As a
it.
completionist. And what's even more annoying, and I think it's in one of the fun facts down there, is that there's kind of like a backdoor wrap up to the show. Well, she eventually appears in like one of the last seasons of Riverdale. I don't remember when, but I feel like there's a 2 or 3 episode arc where she comes over. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, I can't tolerate Riverdale.
Let me tell you, Riverdale is a I'm like, what is going on? What is this show?
I don't think the show even knows what that show is.
No,
Like
no.
the actors.
At some
The
point
actors
in
are like,
time,
what
Jonah,
show
they
are
were
we
time
on?
traveling, Jonah.
I remember, and I was held hostage. My roommate was watching it. I was held hostage to watch along with him. Even though I did not want to, I was like, ugh, because I'd be working in the living room and he'd have it on. I'm like, I was so bitter about because I hated it, and it
It's
wasn't one of
so
those that got
bad.
better with watching. Like I started to
No,
get like
but I
attracted to
wanted
it.
to know what was going to happen at the end, and I was there going, oh my God, is this really happening? They sat up in that room and wrote this.
They didn't even try at the end. It was ridiculous.
Riverdale.
And I feel like with Sabrina, they did the opposite. They tried too hard or something. It was just too. There was so much like in those 4 parts, and it was hard to
Yeah,
keep up. It was just a lot. But I mean, even considering that, and even considering my distaste for it,
yeah.
I think it's cool that they did it. I love that they did a darker version of Sabrina and made it more true to what I guess the original story was like, right? In the Archie comics.
Well, she was never like I said, there was a chilling graphic novel series that came out in the 2000 teens, and that's what this was adapted from
But there was
by the same creator. But Sabrina
yeah,
the Teenage Witch was a she is a character that exists in the Archie comic universe.
yeah,
Yes. Yes, and she is like now I don't think any of the evilness
yeah, the dark
is in
stuff.
those in the Archie stuff, but like she is like the witch from the neighboring town of Greendale and all that other stuff.
Would you
which I
want to
guess is,
see
you
anything
know,
else within this world?
I mean, I think the time has passed, like you said. Something with Chance would have been really great. I remember, later on in the series, like Prudence was off. I think it was her and Ambrose, like searching for Father Blackwood, who had like absconded with the babies, and like, um, and I was like, I really could have enjoyed just watching the two of them go
Mhm.
on adventures, like doing witch
Yeah, because
stuff
didn't they
around the
have like a little
world.
thing?
There was a relationship there. Yeah,
That
I
was
think
hot.
yeah. I was like, oh, that's so yeah, but like I can't think of anything else that I would want to see. I'm like, Jazz Sinclair's at Gen V, and I will be enjoying her over there.
Yeah. You know what? I take that back. Honestly, I would like to see Aunt Zelda and Aunt Hilda in the retirement home, like casting spells and shit and
Well, I
doing
mean, they
potions.
in the show they live in mortuary, like they run a funeral home.
Hmm.
So I'm like, that's the show.
Yes, I
That's
don't
the
have to
show.
have Sabrina for that. Just give me them.
And if Sabrina's in there, keep Salem around and make him talk because he didn't really talk in this
Right. Yeah, he
show.
didn't say or do much of
There's
anything.
there's there's a little bit of a reason why in the fun facts.
Okay,
So we'll
okay.
be getting there soon. So Jonah, what would you rate this show?
Oh, I would have to say the mortgage was due.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I mean, because I don't want to contradict myself and say what the fuck were they thinking, and it certainly wasn't really a nostalgia like
Yeah.
think it. I don't even see it as a good time, and I don't want to watch it again. So that's really it. Only
Mhm.
leaves me with the mortgage was
That makes
due.
sense. I don't know where on this scale I would put it. It definitely wouldn't be above nostalgia blanket, but there wasn't really anything nostalgic about it outside of just the name of Sabrina. I did notice though, in like the first episode of part two, she was doing, of course, she wasn't doing the little sparkle magic changing her clothes, but she was like spinning around and changing. And I was like, I feel like that is a Sabrina thing,
Mhm.
like you get to see her do the thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know where this goes. At this point, I'm like, ugh, I want to at least finish it because I've started it, but then I'm like, I don't
Oh,
want
you
to.
haven't finished watching?
I mean, I've seen the original run of the show, but as I've been rewatching, at least trying to rewatch it for
Oh,
this
I see.
conversation, now I'm like, because they do get into all the Satan stuff where like she's like back and forth in hell and all this other thing, and I'm
I
like,
wasn't here for any of that.
it really just it gets exhausting. It really got exhausting, and she's Sabrina's annoying. Sabrina is
Exhausting is a good
annoying.
word. Although I will say, while I don't consider it nostalgic, there were elements about the show when I was watching it that felt cozy. I don't know how a better word to describe it than I felt cozy and kind of warm for some reason, but not nostalgic, obviously. And not in a way that made me want to like that made me
Mhm.
yearn to watch it, but like there were just moments. I don't know if it was because when I first started watching it, if it was like I started watching it in a time when I during a time when I was particularly well, I don't think I was particularly happy in life then, but I don't know. It just there was moments like in the house I think that just felt really cozy, and I don't know if it was because
Mhm.
of the set or how comfortable I find myself in like gothic, darker like tones of TV, but um, I did enjoy those elements. But when they strayed out of the house, I was like, isn't that weird?
The only thing that kind of gets on my nerves is like the Vaseline on the lens kind of deal when like magic is afoot and everything is very like
Yes,
hazy and
yeah.
fuzzy. But it's like magic is afoot, and like it's weird. Um, yeah. Also, while we're on our break, I was trying to like better articulate what I was trying to say about the show in my head, and I think it's just that when it comes to evil, there are levels and that they are like, okay, the devil is the devil, but for us, it's not about evil. it's about doing what makes us feel good or not doing it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like a
but the devil is the devil. Yeah, he's the devil, but they don't have anything to do with us. Because when witches who sign the book don't go to the lake of fire, they do something else in hell.
yeah, there's definitely I agree there's definitely levels in how they constructed the
Yeah.
mythology of the
I had to
show.
I was like, okay, what am I trying to say? But anyways, let's get into some of these facts and trivias and all these things. I think you're gonna enjoy some of these. I was like, and I'm interested to know if some of these things you kind of knew already, which I feel like the first one you would know. Um, so the Weird Sisters are a trio of witches in the Shakespeare play Macbeth. The spell Sabrina uses to summon them is taken directly from actual lines spoken by the witches in Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 3.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Isn't that fun? I was like, okay. And there's a couple of other little facts, little things kind of wedged into the show that I think are
Love
cool.
that.
Aunt Zelda appears to be fluent in at least a dozen languages, including French, Italian, Russian, Japanese, Spanish, and German, as shown by the newspaper she is reading at the table on each episode.
Let me tell you, that bitch is well-rounded.
Let me tell you, I'm like, I love that people take the time to like look at all these things. Would you have thought to like pause the screen to look and see what she was reading?
No.
Because she was
I couldn't
she was
tell
reading
you.
a paper in every episode.
I don't think I even clocked that at all. But that sounds really familiar.
So in Sabrina's bedroom, there's a poster of the movie Haxen, 1922. It's a Swedish-Danish documentary film on witchcraft through the ages.
These little eggs they buried.
I know. I know. Okay. Like Riverdale, the year in which the show takes place is intentionally never mentioned so that the show can be simultaneously modern and retro. This is why elements of the town, schools, and much of the clothing in Greendale is more reminiscent of the 1960s when the source material is set. But there are also modern references as well as cell phones and computers.
I think that's interesting. I kind of liked how they did that because it made it feel timeless.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very much Batman the animated series. Like Batman the animated series was very like retro. But then there was all this random technology that would be around. But everybody was in blimps. They had blimps going like in Gotham. I loved it. Okay, let's see. The character Father Faustus Blackwood, the right-hand man of the Dark Lord, which I'm like, why wasn't it the left-hand man of the Dark Lord? Left is supposed to be the evil hand. Somebody should be slapped for that. Is named for the German folklore character Faust, who sold his soul to the devil for infinite knowledge. The historical Dr. Faust that the tales are based on lived in the region known as Schwarzwald, which literally translates into the Black Forest or Blackwood.
Okay.
Also, there's a character in DC Comics. He's a villain called Felix Faust, who is an evil wizard or warlock.
Huh.
This show takes place in the same universe as the CW series Riverdale, which is based on the Archie comics and featured Sabrina as a character who later received her own dark comic series, which I don't know why I copied that. That's clearly what this whole podcast is about. Dr. Saperstein, who Ms. Wardwell mentions in the car in episode 1, is the name of of the satanic doctor in Rosemary's Baby, 1968. I also want to say that Dr. Saperstein is a character on Parks and Rec. And that was like
It
John
sounds like it would be a
Ralphio.
character on Parks and Rec.
Yes, well, John Ralphio and his sister, they're Sapersneys.
Oh yeah, God, I
Don't be
love
suspicious.
them.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
John Ralphio?
Go, go, go!
Don't be. They're Sapersneys.
I want to show up just them, honestly, in
Oh my God,
anything
yes.
together.
The names Hawthorne and Putnam are taken from Arthur Miller's The Crucible, which takes place during the witch trials in Salem. I had another thing about this that was a little bit more information because Hawthorne and Putnam are also names of like I think like real people from the witch trials. I could have sworn
They sound like very like old names.
Yeah. Because the thing with mentioned Nathaniel Hawthorne, which makes my skin crawl every time because his horrible poetry was crammed down our throats in 11th grade. I'm like, why are we reading all this Puritan shit? There's another universe where the show aired on CW, but Netflix acquired the rights in 2017. So originally, the show was set to air on the CW, and it could not have been as dark as it was on Netflix.
No, not at all. I wonder what that would have looked like. It definitely would have been watered down. It probably would have been weirder too.
I wonder if interesting. In this series, Salem doesn't talk or get much screen time as he does in Sabrina the Teenage Witch 1996. One of the reasons behind this, besides the show pursuing a much darker tone, is that Kiernan Shipka is actually allergic to cats. At some point, showrunner Roberto Aguirre, I said it earlier so well, Aguirre,
Just two initials, RAS.
At some point, the showrunner even considered turning Salem into a dog, which people, do you know the internet would have been pissed?
Yeah, and it just wouldn't have the same vibe.
Here are a couple of womp womp. So the use of an inverted cross as an anti-Christian or satanic symbol is largely a creation of 20th century movies. The cross is known as the Cross of St. Peter, who was one of the 12 apostles. When he was to be crucified, Peter asked to be done so upside down, as he was unworthy to die the same way as Jesus. It is a holy symbol to Christians, reflecting the idea that the Pope is the successor to Peter. I thought that was interesting because I didn't know that. I just always knew the flipped cross was evil. I didn't know it was like a movie, like created as a movie thing.
I remember studying that when I was a practicing Christian / youth pastor.
In several episodes, Ms. Wardwell refers to her familiar as a raven, though the beak shape and call indicate that it's a crow. Stolas, which is the familiar's name, is neither a crow nor a raven, but a hybrid of the two birds. Combining the size and proportions of a raven, yet retaining the beak shape of a crow. The visual effects crew refers to Stolas as being a craven. And let me tell you, I don't think there's any point in the first season that Stolas looks like a real creature. It is a straight up puppet, I feel, the entire time. Until like the end, she just kind of like at the end of it. And then I think it's the Christmas episode where she's talking to it stuffed, and I was like, "Is this what happens for the rest of the show?" They're like, "We're just gonna talk to it stuffed."
It's giving Norman Bates.
So those are all the little things. There's so many more on the IMDb page for the show. If y'all want to go take a look at those, there's some interesting ones. Like Zilda's Aunt Zilda's dog is named like Old Vinegar Tom, which is like a play or something like that. So there's all kinds of fun literature shit in there. Y'all should go take a look at those.
Neato. Well, Kenan, What you watching?
Girl, what you watching?
Honestly, I feel like the things that I normally watch are still on holiday break. I do see that Abbott Elementary is back on. This will be completely irrelevant by the time this episode comes out. But it was a crossover with Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I saw it was a pleasant surprise, even though I'm not a viewer of Always Sunny. I love all those actors, and
Yes.
I feel like I know the show well enough from the peripheral, like periphery. And I enough to enjoy the
Yeah.
crossover. It was a really fun. You haven't seen it, you
Yeah.
just said, right?
No. I watched. I mean, I
Okay.
haven't. Yeah. I watched it earlier. I really enjoyed it because oh my gosh, my brain hurts. But anyways, Caitlin Olsen is on a show called High Potential.
Yes.
And I am obsessed with that show. I think it should be coming back from holiday break soon. Fingers crossed. I'm like, oh, she's like a working class Sherlock, and I'm fully here
Yes.
for it.
Yes.
We get to see a lot of her life, and I'm like, I want to know what happened to her damn ex-husband.
Yeah, I have a lot of episodes to catch up, but I started watching it and in love with immediately fell in love with that character and that show. Which I knew I would. I love everything she's in. I love the Meg.
Right?
The Meg is one of those shows
I have to watch it. I didn't like get into it, and I have to watch it. I did start watching AP Bio.
Yeah, me too. That's fun.
He's essentially the same, which I think they all are. They're all in everything. Most of them are in. It's always Sunny characters, and he's very much the same personality type, extreme narcissist.
I thought so.
But
that's funny.
I enjoy the characters of AP Bio, and Patton Oswalt is always fun.
Yeah.
So I guess I have been watching something.
I'm continuing my Xena rewatch, and I've started a video series on Xena defying all logic and gravity with her athleticism.
Yes, the way she those flips.
Insane. The things that one of the last episodes I watched, she had no weapons because she's in India, so she didn't have her like battle suit on or whatever, and she literally used a towel or some kind of cloth or shirt or something, dipped it in water, wrung it out. First of all, she slapped them around with the wet cloth, and then she wrung it out and turned it into some sort of solid staff just by like squeezing it and stretching it. I don't know how she did it. It's like almost like
messing up all of physics.
All physics, no physics in this show whatsoever. No physics, all defied. And it was just so funny because she kicked ass with that. And then someone threw a spear at her. She grabbed the spear, shoved it into a statue, and then twirled around it, kicking all the guys' asses. And then
one of those like fully like horizontal, like she's like fully horizontal and like.
It's like, how did she even get the momentum to flip that way? But whatever. That wasn't even the best part. The best part was they come running at her, and just like something out of a cartoon, she pulls the staff or the spear back as if it's like rubber or like a tree branch, and like uses it to smack them in the face and just clotheslines them with it, and it makes the blink sound and everything. And that's one of the things I'm enjoying most is all the sound effects that I never noticed, I guess, in the
super animated. I mean, think how did it keep like, I'm sure you watched it when you were younger. I was watching it when I was younger. It had to find a way to keep the kids' attention, and I think that was fully what it was.
But that's the thing. So there's some really like dark, like edgy, like criteria in this show for like it to be like children to be watching it. But I watched it religiously. It's the theme song is one of those. Every time I just let the theme song play. It's like Buffy. I let it play because it's so nostalgic, and I feel something inside of me. Yes, I'm like rehearsing or announcing like the narrative of the opening credits along with the guy with the good voice, it's just so much fun. I'm continuing to watch that, but also you might you might be surprised to know, Keenan, and not by choice, but I have sort of gotten into it. The Flash.
It's a good one. It gets a little exhausting later, but it's fun and it ends good.
Yeah, my roommate's watching The Flash or doing a rewatch of The Flash because he started
Mhm.
it years ago and like he wanted to finish it, and so I've been just kind of watching it like secondhand, and now I'm kind of like I know the characters' names and stuff. I'm like rooting for people. I know some storylines that are coming based on like you telling me that I'm looking forward to seeing. But I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would, honestly.
I mean, like
So
people like to like poo poo on the CW, but they were doing their thing and they held that shit down for a long time.
yeah.
And RIP Arrowverse because Superman and Lois just wrapped a few weeks
And that
ago,
was the
and
last, like in
it
the
was the last
Arrowverse.
vestige of the Arrowverse. And let
Mm.
me tell you, they put all the money into Superman and Lois. I don't know if you ever watch it, but I mean, like
I did
it,
watch a few
it
episodes.
like cinematically filmed. It, I was
Well, it was a Max show, right?
no, it was a CW show. It was
Really?
airing simultaneously. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I watched it
but
on
no, it
Max, so
was
that's
a
why I was thinking.
yeah, yeah. Like they were
Mm.
putting. It was one of those get Max to watch,
Yeah, yeah.
Superman and Lois. But yeah,
Maybe
it's
because at that point they didn't have a budget going anywhere else, any of the other shows anymore, so they could just like feed into that.
yeah, everything
Oh.
was coming to an end, and they weren't having crossovers from the other shows. Superman wasn't going to other shows, and so like they let those storylines wrap. But this kept going on a completely different world. Like it wasn't set on the same Earth.
And you feel like it
So
ended strong.
I
Oh, I just picked out a wound, I think.
don't. I don't hate the ending, but I didn't love it. Like it was a little bit more like, "Hey Clark, here's your life." And it was like see all the people, and it was almost like a flashback of seeing all the people that we've gotten to love over the course of the show.
Hmm.
And it was a very like I think it was a good ending, but it's not one that was for me. I think there's
Okay.
someone who saw that ending, cried, and loved it, but it just wasn't for me.
Hmm. Gotcha. I get that. I feel you there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, everyone, thanks for listening to the Rewind podcast. Before you go, please take a moment to show some love for your favorite podcast by leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Every positive review, rating, and subscriber helps.
And also connect with us on the socials. Find us on Facebook at The Rewind Podcast 1 or search The Rewind Podcast, Blue Sky at The Rewind Podcast.bsky.social, Instagram at The Rewind Podcast, and maybe TikTok for a little while at The Rewind
Maybe not
Podcast.
by the time this episode comes
Maybe
out.
not. We'll see. Oh, you can also email us at the rewind podcast one at gmail.com. And on as far as like connecting with us personally, my socials are at JS Taylor Writes on Instagram. And I just started a brand new account where I'm doing a lot of the content that I was doing on TikTok. It's called Keeping It Reels. And so you can find it at keeping.it.reels, where I talk about all things TV, film, and pop culture.
Meet Jonah that you could have said, or my other account where I keep it real.
Oh man.
See, in this, I'm just here to help punch up the lines.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
I'm here for. So you can also find me on Keeks on Camera on Blue Sky. There's the .bsky stuff at the end. You can also find me at Keeks on Camera on Instagram, where I'm posting a lot of things. I've been doing a lot of cooking lately, and
I
so I've
enjoy
been
those.
cooking. I have a super green soup that's coming out soon.
Mm.
Yeah, and I bought a juicer yesterday, so I'm like juicing. I'm really trying to eat fewer processed foods and
Mhm.
like drink more fresh juice and try to get some more like nutrients in my body. I do take like a
Stomach things
multivitamin
too.
and stuff, but I just I I need to find more ways to get vegetables and things in.
Yeah.
I eat a lot of vegetables. I don't know if I'm eating enough, so I figure if I start juicing and having smoothies and making like fresh soups and stuff, I have to be getting everything plus.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's hard. It's so hard to get all the and drink all the water. God. Why is it so hard
Yeah,
to be a human being in this day and age? Like,
I
keeping our
know.
bodies alive and
Well, it's
supple and moist.
because it's legal to feed us poison.
Yes. Oh God, it's a whole other podcast, isn't
Yeah, yes it is. But until then, everyone, please be kind. Wait, damn it! And until then, everyone, be kind.
it? And please rewind.
Goodbye.
Just be kind and listen to the rewind.